we're coming up to your city. We're Americans of the same country sound. We'll be flying higher than the tail of the road. And if you want a little ride, you come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Wednesday. It is December 2nd. I can't believe it's December, man, but it is here. We're in the midst of the Maui Invitational that's taking place in Asheville, North Carolina. Let's see, football's, we got a lot to talk about there. Kirk Herbstreit got himself in a little trouble yesterday. On the program today, Jordan Hulls will be joining us direct from Germany. I don't think Dustin DePere can be with us. Cal Nedrip, as we'll wrap up, put a bow on the Indiana high school football season as the champions were crowned last week. Basketball's taking center stage now. We'll talk plenty to talk about there. The college football playoff rankings came out. Indiana did not move, which I'm like, from a unbiased perspective, I'm like, okay, normally I'd be all right. That would be all right, except for the fact Iowa State moved up 4 spots because they beat a nobody Texas team. Here we go. There you go. I'm like, oh, Big 12. They're trying as they might, trying to get a team from that conference out there. Stop forcing things. They're trying to force Ohio State into the top 4, no matter what. They're scrambling. They're not going to make it into the Big Ten championship. We got to get them into the Final Four. That's what TV wants. They're scrambling because they know that they're one of the top 4 already. Yeah, really? Yeah, well, they thought that they were in the top 4 all those years when they went to Iowa and got their butts handed to them. They went to Purdue and got their butts handed to them. They almost lost to Indiana. So, yeah, I don't understand the need. Well, yeah, I do. It's brand awareness. What if an Indiana team with a backup quarterback in Jack Tuttle? That's why they didn't move up, in my opinion, is they pulled the old NCAA do-si-do on them. Like the NCAA basketball tournament when it comes out and you get injuries, whatnot. Oh, they're going to be a 3 seed. Yeah, they're going to drop them down to a 5 seed. I think that's what happened. They're like, oh, well, it's Indiana. So here's any excuse they can find for, and it's not just Indiana, but any team that's not in the clique, they will use. And Indiana is not a sexy name in college football right now. I think it's going to be very, very soon. But as of this moment, that's not the case. Now, inside of the borders of the state of Indiana, absolutely. But when you go outside and you talk about Iowa States and Texas and all those, but no, not yet. It's a lot of tradition to overcome in a single season. But Indiana is in a position to do some historic stuff. Now we have to see what happens with Ohio State. Ryan Day will not be coaching the Buckeyes this Saturday because of COVID. They are expected to play, but now you also have Michigan, who is their opponent the following week, who has shut things down. Kirk Herbstreit got in trouble by saying what I've been saying for 2 weeks. Well, what if Michigan does the ultimate screw you, Ohio State, and pulls out of the game? That pulls the plug on Ohio State's Big Ten championship opportunities, which I would not and did not suggest that he would purposely do it publicly, because that would be suicide, as did Kirk Herbstreit. And then he had to backpedal and apologize and all that. But it's going to be interesting because Indiana can end up in the Big Ten championship game. Now, what happens if they do? What happens if they win the Big Ten championship? What happens if they've gone 8-1 now with wins over Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin? A close loss on the road to Ohio State. A season-ending win over a ranked which would be a ranked Northwestern team, most likely. That would be several 4 or 5 ranked teams that you won. There are 3 teams in front of Indiana that's driving me a little crazy right now because they're all with 2 losses. Oklahoma. Well, are you kidding me? Georgia. Seriously? And then Iowa State with the 4-man jump that's for beating nobody. Man, but it'll clear itself out. It's just going to be interesting. But I think the worst scenario is Indiana's going to an outstanding bowl game this year. Outstanding. I'm talking New Year's Day again. You're not waiting until the last second to wonder, are they going to go decent? No, it's how good. Are we talking Orange Bowl or Citrus Bowl? If it's not the college football playoffs, Rose Bowl. Yes, that's crazy and far-fetching because I assure you, the powers that be will do whatever it takes. And it's not to keep Indiana out so much as to get the ones in that they need in for TV ratings. Indiana is not going to draw names on the football field nationally yet. I think that day is coming soon. Indiana is definitely going to be a player on the scene for years to come, the way the teams are set up. Dustin DePirick, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. Just talking to the college rankings came out and was going over them. Not a lot of change as expected, except for I'm having a hard time with Oklahoma. I just called them out. Oklahoma and Iowa State. And who's the other? Georgia. The 2 lost teams that are in front of Indiana, which there was no movement for Indiana this week, mainly I think because of the quarterback situation. It was kind of like the NCAA tournament deal where they're going to be a 3 seed. Let's move them down. But it should get itself to time to flesh itself out with games against Wisconsin on the road. That's going to be a big win. I mean, to me, if they are able to win that game, man, you go on the road and you beat a ranked team in the Big Ten, forget it. Give it, stop taking it away from them. But it's going to be interesting no matter what.
Yeah, no, I'm totally in agreement there. I think I just can't believe they can't move them up. I mean, obviously they only have 1 loss, and it's to a really, really good team that, as of right now, if you stop the season and you allowed for them to qualify with the few games they played, would be a playoff team. And Indiana played that team pretty close. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have them behind an Iowa State, behind an Oklahoma, teams that have lost some games, and Georgia. Again, I mean, and I think Georgia's good, but they're not as good as they have been, and they haven't looked at that so dominant that you had to say, oh well, they're really. They're not really a 2-loss team. You can't view them that way. No, you can. Georgia's a 2-loss team. I mean, who have they really beaten? I mean, they get Florida, I guess. I mean, who did they? Actually, I don't think they did. I mean, it's just like who did they beat? That it's like, oh, well, you have to move them up. They're so great.
And it was early. It was early on too. Yeah. Their good wins were early.
Yeah, right. And it'd be what Tennessee at the beginning or somebody else that I'm kind of forgetting. And Tennessee's not that good, and that win's not that impressive. So it's like, okay, what has Georgia done that says, okay, that they're that much better than this Indiana team?
They're in the SEC.
Yeah.
You got to move them up. They're in the SEC. It's automatic.
Obviously. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I covered that league. It's really good. I mean, and like for all Big Ten, I think fans frequently say like, oh, SEC isn't as good as it says it is. It's really good. There's a lot of talent down there. And they just from their recruiting, hotbed or footprint, they get a lot of really talented players, and it's deep. I mean, those guys are really good generally, but it's not like this is a year where the SEC is so, head and shoulders better than everybody else. You've seen those years in the past where there's like 10 SEC teams that are top 25 and you look at them and they're legit. This isn't one of those years where it's that deep. It's good. It's good, but, some of those teams that were expected to be decent, again, Tennessee is at the bottom of the league again. Everyone kind of expected them to this be a year where they kind of come back under Pruitt. Hasn't happened. So it's like that win doesn't look that great. And yeah, like you said, if Indiana beats Wisconsin, then you don't have any knocks anymore. I mean, I think they certainly took away from Indiana the fact that Michigan obviously isn't very good. Penn State obviously isn't very good. Those wins don't look as good in retrospect, but all the same, again, if they beat Wisconsin, that's a legit win. And they almost got Ohio State. They put them on the ropes at least. And they handled a not terrible Maryland team pretty easily. They shut out Michigan State. They've got some real wins. If they beat Wisconsin, you just can't hold them back anymore, especially if they do it without their starting quarterback and arguably their best player.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. They'll get the chance to flesh that out as they'll move on up to Madison this week to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Jordan Hulls, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Cannot complain. Dustin DePirick in with us as well on this Wednesday. Reached the midway point. I saw Devontae Green turned his car over. He's over wherever he's playing over there. I just saw it on Twitter. I retweeted it out. He was in an accident in wherever town he's playing. He was getting around with those little ambulances, and there's a picture of the car up against the tree. Everything's fine, wow. But I was like, oh, it was. But reading the article was kind of funny because it's the young upstart and woman in the car and this, that, and the other thing. Was this okay? And it's just kind of funny now that you look on it. But man, I was like, Devontae, slow down over there, man, on those little bitty streets. I'm like, how fast can you get? You got to get going pretty fast to turn a car over. And I'm like, I've been over there a lot. I'm like going, man, you can't get going that quick. I didn't think.
Hey, he's in Greece too. They drive a little crazy, I've heard. So
apparently.
I'm glad he's okay, man. That's scary stuff, especially when you're far away from home. Hopefully they took good care of him. And I'm gonna find that tweet that you retweeted. But
I'll let look at that. How's your season going?
It's good. We've had 2 weeks without a game because there's a FIBA break, so everybody plays with their national teams, and then so we play Sunday and then Tuesday. So we kind of have a lot of games coming up, but everything's good. We're 2-1. Lost to a good Munich team last weekend. But other than that, playing well. Just trying to shoot the basketballs as good as I can and do whatever I need to do.
Well, Dustin, I think you'll agree with me. I know a team that could use your services right now back in Indiana in the college ranks. We saw the Hoosiers taking on a tough Texas team, but man, did a lot of holes get exposed, and shooting definitely one of those. But man, that was a tough loss yesterday. I'm not sure if you got to see that game or not.
Yeah, I watched the last 2 games. Actually, it's been good. They've been on a reasonable hour, so I've been able to watch and tune in. And I thought the first game that we played against Providence was really good. Able to get out and run, get stops. Race had a great game, but last night was a little bit more challenging for us. Texas, they do what Shaka Smart teams do. They play tough, good defense, get out and run. I thought they passed the ball and cut really well for Texas. They didn't shoot particularly well from outside either. They hit 7. I'm looking here, 7 out of 25 from 3. But we only attempted 10 threes, which is not a lot. That's not a lot of threes, and we hit 2 of them.
That's a warm up for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of games I'll shoot 8 or 9 myself, but
in the first
I play a little bit different. Yeah, a little bit different system over here for sure. But we got punched in the mouth a little bit yesterday, and then Texas just kept it on. We didn't have a lead at all yesterday, it looks like. So yeah, it makes it a little bit difficult for us.
And Dustin, we keep saying it's a young team, and every year we keep saying it, but it is. You got this core freshmen that are in, and their leaders, Trace Jackson Davis, and while there are some veterans on the team, obviously, it's still a young team when you look at the core of it.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and I think that it's also changing rules. It's a different team. It's not a different system, but just the construction makes it so guys are doing different things. Jordan, I just wanted to get back to more of your analysis, I guess. I mean, did that look like a game to you that you just kind of throw away? That it's just, I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch myself. I just saw some of the highlights and a lot of missed layups, a lot of bunnies at the rim that just weren't going down. I mean, do you look at it a game that shows you some structural deficiencies, or do you look at that as a game that says, all right, this is just one you got to throw away? They just weren't on, didn't do anything right, just got to forget about it. What kind of, I guess, bucket do you put that game in?
Yeah, it's Texas. They did what they do, man. They made us uncomfortable, and we didn't really respond to that. I think, it is after coming off a good game against Providence to come out like that and not you knew Texas was going to play that way if they knew anything about, how Shaka coaches his teams. So to not respond as well as, of course, not as well as we wanted to. We had our opportunities. We had shots. We had, layups at the rim or moves at the rim. We got it inside, but then we just kind of never got over that hump. As far as like throwing the game, I think we can definitely learn from it. I think it was good for us to get hit in the mouth and, kind of get beat like that. No one ever wants that to happen, but you can definitely learn from it and see like, look, they're ranked 17th in the country. That's what we need to expect. If we want to beat some good teams, we got to come in and, do those kind of things and figure out how we're going to win those kind of games.
We got to take a quick
You
quick
talked
break when we come back. I'm sorry, Dustin. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll pick that back up, talk about Stanford and all that. But we'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Jordan Hulls, Dustin Napierk, Jim Coyle will be back with more right after this. Dustin's a thoroughbred, baby. I got to keep the reins on him, boy.
I saw him do the great thing, so I made sure I just kind of stopped talking. There's more to add to that for sure, but.
Bubba's 33 has Antos Pizza.
Yeah. We got Jordan Hall's analysis, though. How can I pass this up? There's so much.
Hey, I hear you.
For sure.
It's like being in the Kentucky Derby with Dustin. I got to hold him back. I said, we got a long way to go. Well, we got a lot of track.
We got to the line, though, at least. We got 29 free throws, 20 of 29. 69%. We could do a little bit better, but we've done worse.
Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family.
I texted your dad yesterday. I thought he would still be over in Maui. He's like, we got back yesterday.
Yeah, they got back. Yeah, they finally got back. They got an earlier flight home from California, I think. So good. My kids are excited to see him for sure.
It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there.
They should put a bunch of heat into that gym in Asheville to make it feel like Hawaii. Make it hot as hell. Keep punching a bunch of humidity in it.
Man.
Make the floor slick. Maybe throw some water on the floor.
Yeah, that's one that I hated that we never, every 4 years an IU team is supposed to go, and I never got to go to Hawaii.
That's right.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I don't. They went my senior year of high school. They went Coach Crean's first year, and then we were supposed to go I guess that was in my junior year. We never went. We decided to go to Brooklyn instead of the Bahamas my senior year.
That vacation destination.
The personal service,
man.
Combined with big
Puerto Rico my freshman year. That was it.
That was kind of cool.
That was a cool spot. Yeah, we got killed, but
you did. That's right.
Gatorade cooler got thrown across the locker room that weekend. That was good.
Nice.
That was fun.
The Boston U game could not have been fun. That one.
No.
By Tom Green.
Yeah. I remember I was sitting
cooler thrower.
Yeah, him and was it Jeremiah there, or it would have been Devin? Maybe I forget who. It was. It was bad. No, it was Coach who did it, but it was intended for all of us.
For just $6. Be part of the karaoke fund every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a website tradition.
I love those. One time I was coaching. I went to Floyd Central and I was coaching football there once when I got out before we got to. Just a funny story. Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you here on this Wednesday from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you, Dustin Napierk, and Jordan Hulls sitting in. Indiana taking on Stanford today in the third round of the Maui Invitational for them. And guys, it's kind of an important win, Jordan. I know it's early in the season. It's only the third game, but after what happened yesterday, it's it's important for them to get back on the horse, and it would really be important to get back on the winning side, but they definitely cannot play like what we saw yesterday.
100%. Yeah, it's the good thing about the tournament style is that it's on to the next one, so we can try and learn real quick about what we needed to fix about yesterday, and hopefully come back with a response game today. And it would be a huge win. I watched their game last night, Stanford as well. So they like to get up and down. They can all shoot the ball a little bit, so it'll be a good test for us. And hopefully we can step up to the challenge and get a huge win today. That'd be awesome for us.
Dustin, they're not as formidable as Texas, I'd say, but man, they have the same thing, and that is an inside-outside presence with Oscar da Silva, the 6'9" in the middle, and Dejon Davis, great experienced guard who's averaging points, who's rebounding, who's stealing. He's just a good player.
Yeah, he is. Plus Zaire Williams, the freshman kid, who's probably a lottery pick quality guy. Jordan, I mean, how much does the just sort of truncated schedule have an effect on these guys, do you think? I mean, the fact that there's not going to be that many opportunities to get important wins, the fact that you're figuring out rotations kind of on the fly starting this late in the year, and there's just not a lot of time before conference play to kind of figure out who you are. I mean, how do you think that changes things, and how much more important does it make each non-conference game that you have?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, usually you have exhibition games, you have these, the games at home where you kind of get a feel, you get those rotations like you're talking about, different guys on the floor, knowing how each other plays. This is a different year for everybody. We're not the only team that's had to do that,
Sure.
or that is doing that. Everybody is doing the same exact thing. So not only for us, I think it's good to try and find that. And I thought after the Providence game, we showed a lot of promise with different lineups, but then you saw the guys who are kind of out there doing the consistent things. If we have an inside-outside presence, that'll be huge. It'll open things up for Trace, but also we need to be able to shoot. We need to shoot a little bit more threes probably, but making them also helps. But even if we're getting open looks and not making them, I think that fact is huge for us, and getting out and running. And I think that'll carry over in today's game. Hopefully we can get out and run and get defensive stops, and then let that get our rhythm going, and against a good Stanford team that really probably should have beat North Carolina or had their chances last night to win. I think, not having those early games, it's a little difficult, but, everybody else is doing the same thing. So we got to step up to that challenge.
You just hit on a point I wanted to hit on. You talked about just taking threes even if you don't make them. I think what's interesting about this group is they've got a lot of guys that can conceivably hit a three. Where last year you had really three post-oriented guys on the floor generally, Justin Smith, Trace Jackson Davis, and either Joey or Race or whoever you're playing at the five. And teams were able to pack the floor basically, and Indiana was just trying to get to the line, get to the rim, and then get to the line. This group has guys that can conceivably hit threes. They just haven't hit any yet. It seems for now that's spreading the floor. That you have to respect it at least. You have to respect the possibility they can hit a shot. How long do you think that lasts before they actually have to make some threes to continue to keep teams respecting them? Basically, how important is it just for some of these shots to go down? They have some, I think, respect now from defenses, but to continue that.
Yeah, going into a game and scouting, if you see, okay, they shot only 10 threes, that's going to make their defensive scout on us. We're going to pack it in and make them prove to us that they're going to hit those shots. So they're for sure going to have to eventually fall. But I think for us now, we just got to take those shots. Again, 2 for 10 from three, that's not a lot of threes, especially the way the game is changing now. If we just drive and kick, and I think when I was watching the game last night too, it's we have guys who are capable of spreading the floor, catching and shooting, but we need to be ready to catch and shoot. Sometimes we catch it, our feet aren't necessarily all the way set, and we take a dribble, then the opportunity is gone, and then we're not hitting guys right when they need the ball to be able to shoot. Those are things that come along with playing more and more games, right? That we haven't gotten to have, but. I think that'll eventually come in, and we are going to have to start definitely getting those open threes, start knocking those down. But I think the first step is actually just taking those and being ready to shoot and just shooting it and going to get the rebound. Okay, if we miss, we miss, but it's a good shot, and it's better than a turnover, right? So I think that'll be a good start for us. Again, Trace, we need him to get going, and that'll help him throughout the whole game.
And the big talking to Todd Leary, we did the postgame show right afterwards, and his biggest concern was in scoring wise. You know you've got Trace Jackson Davis, who you're leaning on for that, but who are you really leaning on to be that other guy? And can't be this late into you can't be all bets by committee. Well, that's nice to say that. You can't have by committee at this level for your second guy. But we don't know who that is. And that's what his concern is. Who's going to be that guy that can consistently bring that scoring now? And because you need the by committee to be your third or fourth guy as your leading scorer. That's who your by committee comes in. But I don't know who that number two guy is right now. We thought it might be Jerome Hunter in his third year after getting over that injury, but he's had a really slow start to things. And Race Thompson showed some promise, but we saw yesterday that he's still got a ways to go. But they need somebody to step up to be that second alternative.
Right. And I think Race he's gonna do what he does best. He's gonna offensive rebound, get the dirty points, do all those kind of things. But the way that he played in the Providence game, it was happening because we were running, we were getting, good shots up, we were cutting up the defense. They played a little bit of zone, we were able to go high-low. He had a couple dunks that way. And like you're saying, that second guy, Al Durham, he's been pretty aggressive offensively, more so than anybody else, I should say. I think Rob can be that guy too, especially with the ball in his hands a lot. But we just have to do maybe a little bit better job of getting to the spots that we need to. And it's not like I know the offense or anything, but just looking at it, it's we're just like a tad bit off of spacing and timing. And I think that, again, that's just going to come with more and more games that you play, especially if you add different lineups in there. But guys like Trey Galloway, he can get in the paint and know when to pass it and just create advantages for us. I think that'll be a huge help.
Trey's been fun to watch, I think. Jordy, what's your read been of Trey so far? And I know we talked about this, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. How is he in your mind? Because
how is he?
That
is great, man. That is great. Oh, my gosh. You got to
coin that one. Yeah, I think he's definitely – get him out in transition. He's playing his butt off, like, defensively. He's trying to do everything he can. Will kind of had that mentality too. Like, he didn't care who you were. We had Vic, who was also a great defender, but Will, we put him on a lot of tough guys as well. And he kind of had that killer instinct and didn't care who you were, that kind of thing. And I think Trey has a little bit of that. I don't know Trey as personally. I've talked with him a couple of times, of course, but I think he's shown a lot of promise. And what I like about him, he just goes out and plays basketball, but he's trying to make the right play every time. He's driving with a purpose, and he's able to deliver a pass when we need to. Like, if you get a quick swing and to hit the one more pass right away instead of just catching it, waiting, and then pass, like the opportunity's gone. So I just see like little things like that go a long way, and he's providing that on the offensive end, getting out in transition, and defensively as well, getting rebounds. And again, if we get stopped and get out and run, that's just gonna get things going for us.
Another thing Todd talked about was these freshmen. You expect them to be a core part of this, and we've seen Christian Lander getting a lot of minutes, Trey Galloway obviously getting a lot of minutes. Jordan Geronimo's been in there some. Haven't seen a lot of Anthony Leal just yet. But as normal season would have, 10, 11 of these non-conference games, Jordan, to help these guys get up to speed, they don't have that. We saw that, they had to play Texas yesterday. They got to play Stanford today. You got Florida State coming up. Butler, it's done. So they have to get up to speed quicker than most on a team that really needs them. How are they going to get to that point quickly?
I think the team chemistry, the confidence that they get from the coaching staff, but also their teammates, I think that is just going to be more important than, anything. Of course, we got to execute. We got to do those things, got to make shots. But knowing how other guys move and just leaving it all on the floor, I thought we kind of got punched in the mouth yesterday. And then we we didn't give up, but the fire just wasn't there. I think if we continue to do that and, again, we got to get stops. If we're not hitting shots, we can at least get stops and get out and run. That's what we need to do. But these younger guys, they're trying to find their place. I think Lander can be huge for us just because he's a guy who can come off the pick and roll, make the right passes. But he's just got to get more and more comfortable with the different speed of the game. I think he had a couple of good defensive stretches yesterday, actually. He cut the ball off a couple of times, didn't get beat. These are growing pains. Everybody has them, no matter if you're a 5-star recruit, a 2-star recruit. It doesn't matter. You got to adjust to the game.
I was going to ask, is that what you're seeing from Lander right now? Obviously, he's a young kid, reclassed. He's in college a year earlier than he expected to be. Is that just what stands out to you right now? Is just a guy that's just figuring it out? Is that what you see when you watch him?
Right, and any young guy, like, they just need, of course they're playing him, so they trust him. They know his abilities. He's a really good player, really talented. I'd like to see him finish a couple of his shots instead of doing that. I haven't seen him play. Maybe that's how he shoots all the time, but he's getting his shots up. He's not afraid to shoot it. I think we need that guy who can come off the pick and roll and hit the roller. I don't know how many times we really hit the pocket pass or a roller yesterday. That could also have been the defense, but somebody who can come off attack and get others going. It's not just about you with the ball. Come off the screen, you got to get other guys going. If Al's hit 2 threes in a row, we need to get him another shot the next trip down the court, or use him as a decoy to get Trace on a slip, or all these kind of things go into play. But as you get older and older, you start to learn those kind of things. And I'm excited about Lander. I think he can really help us. And again, defensively, he's long. He had I thought he did a good job a couple of times yesterday. But it's getting those reps in that we didn't get with the exhibition games or anything like that. We're just thrown in the fire now, and we got to get it. We got to figure it out. I think in the long run, it's going to help them playing against all these tougher teams in the beginning, but hopefully we see the benefit in that now.
And point guard basically is your quarterback on the floor out there, for lack of a better word. How much tougher is it for that particular position to come in as a point guard and to not have this? It's kind of like having one arm tied behind your back. Because you have to learn a little bit more. You have to recognize things. You have to see things. So you have to learn the offense from a whole different vantage point and viewpoint and see those things. So that's got to add to that responsibility for him as a now 18-year-old kid.
100%. I mean, and that's the good thing. He's 18. He's got so much more to learn, and I know the coaching staff is going to put him in a position to be successful and teach him those things and why we're running this play and how you get this guy open and how you do this, do that. That's not just for him. That's for anybody who's running the point, or really collectively of his team. Like when we were playing, we knew if there's a mismatch in the post or we need to get Vic on a downhill drive, like we knew what plays to run in order to get him in that position. We made him successful in that way. We wanted Seawad on the high elbow. He could attack out of that, and then we just spaced the floor and could shoot the basketball, being ready to shoot for the opportunity. So do what you do best is kind of what we do, and I think that's what's important for this team as well. Know what you do and what you bring to the team, and be the best in that role that you can.
We got a lot more coming up. Calvin Edinburgh is going to join us. We'll put the Indiana football schedule to bed, and basketball gets started, hopefully. Jordan Hulls is with us, Dustin DePierre as well. I'm Jim Coyle. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
What?
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65.
When's y'all's next game, Jordan?
We play Sunday, and then we play
you all play
Tuesday.
weekly?
Yeah, I only play
Tuesday.
No, we play one day a week, and it's usually Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But with COVID and the schedule being pushed back, we're going into a stretch here before Christmas where we play like twice a week. And then it'll start spacing itself back out in January and then pick back up towards the end of the season. Just different.
Over there. How are things going in where you are, COVID-wise?
It's okay. My teammate told me today that they changed some of the restrictions, so now you can only it was like you could have 2 households together, and you could have like 8 or 10 people, but now you can have 2 households, but you can only have 5 total people there in one spot, like, or whatever. So, but I'm a hermit. I don't leave my apartment really. I just go from here to practice, and that's it. So it's okay. It's good with me. I'm just waiting for my family to get here, honestly.
Yeah, it probably makes it easier that they're not there for you to stay home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And with 3 kids, I don't know how much I'm going to want to be like going out anyway. We have to get them tired somehow, so we'll go on walks and stuff. But It'll be a different year. Yeah, a walkabout. It's nice and cold and gets dark here at like 4:30 or 5, so it's pretty. Yeah. You got to take vitamin D pills so you don't get too depressed. Yeah, you don't get any vitamin D. Seriously, you get prescribed like vitamin D on some teams. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Not very much sunlight all the time.
Your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect. I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
What time do we play today? What times do you play today?
1:30 in about
the games every week with
4 hours.
Like drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. The Roy Stafford also features a $6.
That'll put it. Oh, that's going to be a late one for you, huh?
Sandwich fries.
1:30 your time. That's 7:30 my time. I'll be at practice though.
Oh.
Stafford, the West Side.
Unfortunately.
2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
My coach.
Keep up with Indiana Sports on Indiana Sports Beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Solorsburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Wednesday. It's December 2nd. Jordan Holes, Dustin DePierre. I'm Jim Coyle sitting in with you as well. Bill Walton has certainly got a lot of attention this week because he's doing the IU games. And when Todd was on here, he hated Bill Walton. He's like, God, I can't stay listening to him. And I would always laugh because I love it. And until I realized he's doing a game that I care about watching. And if that's the case, it's not nearly as much fun, I notice. But if it's not, I enjoy the heck out of it and just laugh my butt off. And then yesterday after the game, I'm going through Twitter, and people have just put up little clips of quick conversations that went between him and Dave Pasch. And you can't help but laugh just to see the one was he went on about whatever he was talking about. And then he turns to Pasch, and Pasch just simply says, "Timeout, Indiana." And I just start, I'm like, God, I need not laugh at that. But Dustin, I've been loving it, man. I mean, he's certainly generating the conversation.
Yeah, but he is. I mean, he's just a crazy individual. I think part of it, you're right that like most of the time he's doing Pac-12 after dark. So it's sort of like at the end of the day, it might be the end of a Saturday night. You've watched 10 basketball games today, and you're only half paying attention anyway. And every once in a while, you hear Bill Walton riffing about Congress or Jerry Garcia or concerts he saw in the 70s, and you're like, what is going on here? But it's entertaining. You're like, okay, whatever, man. But I can see that when it is watching a game that you care about, you're like, Bill, are you even connected to this game at all? And the answer is no.
Are you connected to planet Earth, Bill? Are you kidding me?
Just barely. Yeah, he's usually out in space pretty far, and you're like, why are we talking about John Lennon right now? I don't know what this has to do with anything, but that's where we're talking about John Lennon and Imagine and something else. He's usually there. He threw a breaking away reference in a couple of days ago, so that sounded like very Indiana, but they asked him how many times he'd been to Bloomington, and maybe once. I was like, that's pretty wild considering how long he's been doing this job. He's only been to Bloomington like one time. But he had a breaking.
They put up a picture. They were asking him things, and Kyle Nedrip is joining us now. They put up a picture I saw, and I'm pretty sure it was Kent Benson that was in the picture. Was he number 42? I think that 54. He was. Anyway,
that's right.
He was 54, but he didn't recognize who it was. I'm like, what do you mean it's NC? That's the Final Four. But I think I'll have his stuff is shtick. But anyway, Kyle Nedrip joining us now from the Indianapolis Star. Kyle, you join us. We're sitting there talking about Bill Walton, so you can imagine how that conversation started. And I have to talk about him again later. But
I was trying to figure out what Dustin was talking about. I joined late, so I was trying to figure that out. But that makes sense now. I'm talking about Bill Walton.
Well, and making sense is a loose term to put into anything that we're doing. That we're talking about Bill Walton, but the football, Indiana football tournament wrapped up last week. The championships crowned at the top, of course, 6A, Taven Jackson and Center Grove taking that one in convincing form. Man, they look so good. I watched that game. I'm like, wow, they were machine-like.
Yeah. If you look back at their season, I mean, there's very rarely were they pushed in any game, and Cathedral was the one team that, gave them a really good game. Cathedral actually had them, they were 1 yard away from closing them out and winning that game. And then we saw what Cathedral did in the 5A finals and winning that fairly easily too. So, that's that Center Grove team will go down in history. It's probably one of the all-time best, if not. I don't know if it's hard to compare teams over generations, but definitely in the time since I've been covering high school football, they're in that mix. I think probably 2017 Ben Davis with Reese Taylor in that group, and the 2018 Warren Central with David Bell. Those two teams come to mind right away. But Center Grove with that offense with Carson Steele and Taven Jackson, and really that defensive line with Caden Curry and Austin Booker, and really all levels of that defense were just so good all year. They didn't have much trouble at all in the tournament, and finished it off in really impressive fashion over a really good Westfield team. They scored 38 points in the first half and then kind of put it on cruise control, but had a pretty good handle on that game pretty well before halftime.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was watching them play was just like a machine. They don't make many mistakes. But football, okay, they were able to get through football this season and crown the champions. Unbelievable. You mentioned Cathedral as well, several others. But now we move on to basketball, and hopefully they will be able to do the same. But it's been tricky already. But what are you looking forward to in the start of this high school basketball season?
Yeah, I was out to a couple of games last week. I went out to Fishers on Tuesday, and then Tech and Warren Central on Wednesday. And it's definitely different. It's kind of depressing really, because you're so used to going into gyms where if the gyms aren't full, there's at least a pretty good student crowd and pretty good number of people. And that Warren Central game, it was in a field house because they're still finishing up their gym. They're doing some renovations, so they played in the field house. And it was well set up. It felt like an AAU game because there's just a smattering of parents there, and other administrators and a few media members, and that was pretty much it. So from that standpoint, it's and that I think that's what it's going to be like throughout the year. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be that way; it should, but from that standpoint, a little different. The teams who are playing, and I've kind of been tracking, John Harrell's got a great site, obviously, for high school sports and schedules and that sort of thing. And I've kind of been, trying to track them day by day. And it's been about, I think 60 to 70% have been playing through the first week or so. And I think it'll probably be on that track, at least through the holiday season, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I'd anticipate that'll probably be about the number that we'll see day to day, and some teams will reschedule on the fly, kind of like we saw with football, and try to pick up opponents as the season goes along and the week goes along. But so it's just going to kind of be different, like we knew. The environments will be drastically different. The big rivalry games will just not feel that way, and that's just the way it's got to be. But I don't sense, I know there's some, there's always some talk about what's going to happen, or people asking, is there going to be a shutdown or whatever? And I don't anticipate that will happen, but but it could depend on the county, it could depend on the school. And there have been schools, around here, Park Tudor and Beech Grove, that have had to stop for a while, and now they're going to come back and start practicing and playing again. And Beech Grove has already. Park Tudor will be playing, I think, this weekend, their first game. So, some of those schools took a couple weeks off and then come back, and I think maybe we'll see that kind of scattered throughout the state and in different areas. But that's that's kind of what I sense at this point. I'm going to get out to another game Friday, and then probably spend a lot of time in Brownsburg on Saturday at their one-day event they're having. I think there's 7 games total, probably get to 4 or 5 of those. So we'll see what that's like. But still obviously really good talent. You just have to, it's just going to be a little bit different this year.
Jordan, we've heard all this talk about having to bring your own juice, whether it doesn't matter what it is, NBA, college basketball, football, across the board. In high school, it's the same way for these guys. It's not like they haven't played AAU like Kyle just mentioned, but you have to bring your own juice. But you're younger, you got a lot more going on. You're just now learning how to deal with all this stuff. You got girls, it's just all kinds of stuff. Seriously, in that younger mind, and now you've got to bring your own juice, so to speak. That's got to be a lot more difficult for a high school kid who's got so much going on, and every experience is a new experience. So they don't have experience in any of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit different than a professional athlete trying to bring their own juice who does it for a living. They're providing for their families through the game of basketball than it is for a 16-year-old high school kid who's like, oh, I'm good enough for high school. I love the game, but like you're saying, there's lots of other factors that go into it. But at the end of the day, every school's going to have to do the same thing, bring their own juice one way or another. I think the coaching staffs and, they're going to be huge in that aspect of just trying to get the kids to understand it's still having fun, even with the given circumstances, but understanding the kids need to know, like, this is on you guys and us. Like, we're the only ones here to bring that energy. So I think a lot of that's going to weigh on the coaches and obviously the kids who really care and want to get that done. But it's a lot easier said than done. I can tell you that. Just even for me, it's just like, we're used to having bigger crowds even over here in Europe, and you got to bring the energy from the bench and warm-ups. You're just talking as much as you can, and just any little thing just to get going and just build that energy is difficult for sure.
Absolutely. And I bring that up, Kyle, because we've seen the effect in college football on home and away crowds, and we've already seen it some in basketball, some upsets early on. And I'm wondering how much that's going to affect the Indiana high school basketball landscape this year. We saw these teams last year that were great, and it was awesome basketball. And there's going to be an effect because we've seen the numbers shutting some teams down, this and that. It's probably going to be an effect on the product somewhat, but not a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's I think that Lawrence Central Lawrence North rivalry game, I cover that. I think it's next Wednesday, pretty much every year, and it's always a packed house, and the bands are there, and you can hardly get in the door. It's just there's so many people normally at that, so that'll be that's one of the games I thought of when we first knew there wouldn't be crowds or much of crowds at games was that game. Early in the season, but you think about the Hall of Fame Classic in Newcastle, where they bring all those fans from each school every year, and there would have been a great crowds this year. They have a bunch of small schools coming, like Shenandoah and Blackford, Luke Brown, and just really good small school. I think it's Bar Reeves in there and Blackhawk Christian, but that I'm sure will be muted. Also this year. And, you look at even a game last night with Pike and Plainfield, and Plainfield's best player was out due to contact tracing. So, they still played the game and they lost by 25. And I'm not saying he would have won the game for them, but, credit to Plainfield for playing the game, even without their best player. But again, in basketball, if you're missing, it's kind of different than football. I guess, if you're losing your quarterback or running back, maybe that's similar, but if you're losing your top scorer or your top two guys or whatever, significantly changes, what your team looks like in basketball. So, from that standpoint, also, that's going to be different, I think, than what we saw in football, and could cost them more, probably cancellations or postponements than football had because of that with the smaller numbers of kids on the team. But, it seems like I say it a lot, but it's going to be that kind of year. I don't think that will change from now until March necessarily. I think it'll be probably roughly the same throughout the season as we go. And then, it makes you wonder too about the holiday, after the holidays, the Christmas time and that sort of thing, how where we're at as a country at that, but that's about a month away from now. And, what the landscape looks like at that point. I'm hopeful it'll be better, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be better by then or not. So, and with people mingling with others, it makes you worried about, that point as well. So, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, my own my two sons are playing, 8th grade sons playing middle school ball, and it's just they've been lucky. Knock on wood, they haven't had anybody out so far. But the 7th grade team has had multiple kids out, and a couple kids twice already. So it's just kind of luck of the draw. You're waiting every day to see, get that email from the school that there's a positive test, and then you're kind of waiting to hear who's going to be contact traced, and it's kind of you're awaiting that word, and not like you're on eggshells or anything, because it's just the way it is. But that's just it's tough. I know it's tough on these kids who want to play, and tough on kids who aren't necessarily getting sick or anything, but they're just the luck of the draw. They're around the wrong people, and they may be out for a whole month without even having any kind of symptoms or anything. So that's tough. But again, there's worse things than that in the world. But from a basketball standpoint, and kids looking forward to their season, it's tough to go through that.
Yeah, Jordan, I was sitting here. Can you imagine going through this you have 3 kids now? Can you imagine if they were like 12, 14, 16 years old, all 3 of them at different heights of their high schooldom? Can you imagine all the parents out there that have been dealing with this? It's crazy. I mean, I have a daughter, and I know how fortunate, but that's just one. I think of these families that have 3 kids and 3 different. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it's super difficult, and I hate it for the kids because they just want to play. Everybody wants to be as safe as possible. Of course, that's the main thing, and I think if we can just get as many games in as we can safely, and, at the end of the day, too, on the flip side of things, like these kids, when we're talking about bringing their energy and stuff like that, if they're super thankful for just being able to go out and play the game, they're going to play hard regardless because, like, hey, maybe the next game we don't get to get. So they're going to play that one game as hard as they can. So, like, I think the more games they can play, the better. I can't imagine what they're going through. I know if I was a kid in high school, I'd be bummed out for sure. And credit to the parents and the coaches and the medical staffs. Like, they're doing the best they can, and that's really all you can do. You can't control everything. So hopefully, it's more positive outcomes than the latter.
Kyle, what's coming up next for you this week?
Trying to take a couple days off here and then get back to it. I got our super team, our football super team will be coming out here before too long. And then, Mr. Football and those awards always come here early in December. And, covering some basketball too. Like I said, I'm going to Cathedral Brebeuf on Friday, and then Brownsburg has a 7-game event on Saturday. So I'm going to catch probably the last 4 games of that. Should be some good ones. And Tay Davis, the Warren Central junior, he'll be part of that. He's going to commit to a school on Saturday as well. So that'll be something we'll have. And looking forward to seeing some basketball now and kind of changing course on the seasons, and always fun to get into basketball season. Good to be inside. It's I always once we get past semi-state football, I know everything else is going to be inside for a while. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, Jordan asking the first thing he's going to do, and he's taking time off. Like, he's laying around, man.
I know.
Much deserved. I'm kidding. Much deserved. The hardest working man in sports, probably. Kyle, I cannot thank you enough, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Jim. See you, Jordan.
See ya.
Kyle Nedrip from the Indianapolis Star joining us here. Man, he's probably the hardest working guy there is, because you just think about, it's a funnel basically. We cover IU in the Big Ten, and that's a lot. It keeps us busy. He's got how many high schools are there in Indiana? 300 and something. I mean, that's his beat. That's his beat. All 300 and however many high schools. Crazy, nuts. But man, yeah, high school basketball getting underway. This is that weird time when it starts too. Jordan, it's the start of the season, but really it's the end of the semester, and it's that weird crossover time, the holidays. So maybe it's a good time this year for that to be the case. We can kind of keep things separate and come back in January and hit it. But the high school season, that's one that can't really take a lot of slowdown, the high school basketball season, because, man, it doesn't take much to put that thing behind.
Yeah, and that's going to be the difficult part. and how does that play into when you get into sectionals and stuff like that? If a team's played, let's say they had to cancel like 7 games or 5 games, they're still going to be able to compete in the sectional playing 5 less games. Those kind of things are, going to have to get sorted out and all that. But there's not much leeway. Hopefully, like we said, everybody's being as safe as possible. And again, for these kids, we want them to play and they want to play, and hopefully it all works out. But we'll see. Hopefully in the next couple weeks and through the holiday season, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, looking forward to that getting underway. Last year, your alma mater, Bloomington South, had an undefeated season. Did not get to finish that, of course. And there were other teams. Kyle just mentioned those Lawrence teams, man. Both of them, man, there were so many good teams last year. I was so looking forward to that tournament. I really was looking forward to that tournament because there were some really good teams in some different areas. We'll talk about it more when we come back. But Bloomington South, like I said, being undefeated. Then you got those Indianapolis teams, and Todd Leary, he's one of those indie guys. So he's always and I went to Florida. He's always talking about, you Hicks out in the sticks and all that stuff. So we'll talk a little bit more about that too when we come back. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this. What's the weather like over there?
Terrible, man. It was it's cold, like rainy. It's always cloudy. The sun's barely out.
Sounds inspiring.
Yeah, it's depressing, man. It's like, oh my god. So I'll go into practice. Well, we have a weird practice schedule, but we'll practice in the morning, and then at night I'll go in and it's barely light. I come back out, it's pitch black. Like it's
Photos, and that's exactly.
yeah. It's.
Have you ever
it's
seen the
crazy.
movie Insomnia?
No.
Since you have a lot of time on your hands, it's an Al Pacino movie. It's a good one. I think he's an LA cop that goes up to Alaska to help with some case.
Oh,
and
geez.
it's that time of year when they got like 3 hours of darkness.
Right.
And so it's like he can't sleep and all this. It's pretty good.
I'll look at it. Insomnia.
It's a pretty good movie. Plus,
it.
it's Al Pacino, so that makes it even cool.
Yeah, it snowed here the other day, kind of like it is in Bloomington, but yeah, it's not
The
ideal.
sun's out today. Blue skies, I can see that.
A little bit.
When's your dad's tournaments? Are they coming back around and just planning for like April?
I'm not sure, actually. I haven't talked to him about that. It's I know usually around this time they're getting geared up to go travel to certain locations and make sure it's a good venue and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't know how much of that they're actually doing. If it's virtual, I don't know. I hadn't talked to him the whole time he was in Hawaii just because I didn't want to see the beach, so I didn't really talk to him. But I talked to him yesterday for a while, but I didn't talk to him about that.
I can't remember if I sent him this text, but I was going to send him a text. How's it going? I hope a coconut falls on your head.
Seriously, yeah, man. I literally didn't I maybe talked to him and my mom like once, and after that I was like, I don't care. I don't care. But
I've never been to Hawaii. I was looking forward to go. I was going to go to this stupid thing.
Really?
I've never been to Hawaii.
Me neither. Yeah, they loved it. They said they're pretty good protocols and stuff once they got there, but it ended up being a good trip.
Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy Stafford also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Boyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you here on this Wednesday, December 2nd. A little Van Halen for you. Jordan Hull sitting in. Jordan, we saw Indiana play a game yesterday in which they it was embarrassing, I guess is one word you could put it, but it was just from the fan standpoint, which that I know that only goes so far with players, but it means a lot. And there are other things at play. And I know your position is one that yours different than mine, because my viewpoints that I express are going to be different. I trust me, so I know that. But they're in year 4, and that's what this discussion. You went through it in a different way. You came in when there was a change before, kind of just after a little bit, but it was still in the middle of that. So you've been through this same thing, because it never really ends. Well, it's never really ended since Bob Knight was let go here, to be honest with you. Every coach that has been here has dealt with that and will deal with this. But we're dealing with it again in year 4. Indiana, the fans, they want to see improvement. They want to see competing in the Big Ten. And unfortunately, this is a year in the Big Ten where that's really an accomplishment. But it makes it difficult. How does that affect the team when this type of things are going on?
Yeah, it's difficult. Of course, coming off a great game and when we played Providence, and then last night getting kind of punched in the mouth. That's difficult for sure. It's not like the guys weren't trying to play hard. They weren't trying to lose. It's basketball. Sometimes it happens. But I think people are just frustrated, maybe like how we lost, or, the shooting 10 threes, or, not moving the ball, whatever it is. There's always going to be something. But the good thing is that, we get to play today again. So quick turnaround, but it's definitely difficult with that. It's not pressure, but you understand, like, hey, we need to show everybody what we got. We did it one time, but it can't just be a one-time thing. So we got to find a way to bring it out. And there's going to be games where you're not shooting the ball well, or things aren't falling, but you can do things on the other end to get your rhythm going offensively. So I think if we can just collectively do that and trust what Coach Miller's doing and the staff and buy into that, I think we'll be okay. We just got to figure out, and with the different lineups and not having the exhibition games and trying to figure all that stuff out, just like every other team in the country, we can do a better job for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing the game tonight, and hopefully we bounce back from that.
Yeah, and talking about dealing with outside noise, it's changed so much even since you were playing. It's because that's not that long ago, but things have changed. Social media is so much more a part of people. Actually have almost they can basically reach out to any players. Really, there's access to those to fans almost via social media, and for that was taking roots when you were playing, I guess, but it's really it's in full flare right now.
Yeah, it's completely different. I mean, I got Twitter my junior year. I was even late. I held off. I was like, nobody cares what I have to say or what I do. But I got Twitter, I think, my junior year, and even then, like, I would never check it after games, good or bad. Like, okay, it's completely different now. That's just how our
so
world
can you
is.
imagine what would it be like now?
I would probably have to, limit. I would definitely limit myself. I would, as hard as that would be, but for the betterment, like, nobody, I would like to think I'm pretty mentally strong, but like, even there comes a point where, like, holy crap, like, these people are actually saying this kind of stuff to me about this, blah, blah, blah. But there comes a point where it's, only people that know what's truly going on in that locker room, the coaching staff and the people in the program, they can say all they want on the outside. We know what, they are the only ones who know the game plan and know what they're supposed to do. If they don't execute that, then that's the accountability piece that they got to have with themselves. They got to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, I wasn't my best today. I wasn't aggressive. I didn't do my defensive assignments. Like, that's where, teams become bigger and stronger and have success. So I think, hopefully the guys can go, I'm sure they got talked to by the coaches, but they can go home and say, like, hey, we need to bounce back. This is a big opportunity for us to show that, that was not a fluke, because Texas is a really good team and they did what they needed to do to beat us. But just to show, like, hey, it's basketball, we're still learning, but we're still a really good basketball team at the same time.
Does it help not having students on campus now. You don't have to. That's something you don't deal with. You're not dealing with class and seeing everybody else and just I don't know what that would be like as a student athlete during a bad time.
Yeah, even when we were terrible, I blend in pretty well. So nobody, I don't look like a basketball player. So I could go to class and, of course I had like IU gear on and stuff, but it's a little bit different for me. But I never like had people yelling at me or anything like that. Even when we won 10 games in that year, I think the way that we lost, like people understood we were rebuilding and they saw how we were fighting and how we were losing. We didn't just give up. Like we were, okay, we got beat by 15 or 20, but like we were playing as hard as we could. We just didn't have it figured out yet. So I think that's also a factor.
I agree with you. That's been
part of how you're losing.
Yeah, it's been part of the issue. That's one of the biggest complaints of fans is they just don't seem to be in the game when they're getting blown out like this. It's like they're just not fighting, and they don't have this guy that is leading them in that way. And I think that's been tough for fans to watch. Losing's hard enough, but losing without a fight just makes it all the more difficult.
Yeah, like having someone who just I'm not saying scream at your team, but trying to get your other guys fired up. You already don't have crowds, so you got to find that energy. Even if I made a bad play, like I held myself accountable, or I'd have teammates tell me, you're good. You'll get the next one. I think having team huddles, body language, all that stuff goes a long way, especially now without having that extra energy. I think when things are going bad, we got to be able to respond, and we can't just be happy and be playing well just when we're making all our shots. That's not realistic. That's not how the game is. True, like really good teams are able to win grinded out games and those kind of things. And I think we're still fairly young. We need to try and figure out how we're going to get that stuff done and have a little bit of edge, have a little bit of grit, and find that dog in us that's just gonna shots aren't falling, but we're gonna get stops and we're gonna win a different way.
Sounds like the Tom Allen coming out in you, man. Got that grit. But that's funny.
I'd run through a brick wall for that guy, man. He's awesome.
Well, see, and it's funny you say that because I had a post, someone tweeted to me that they need some Tom Allen fight, and Todd Leary would always talk about positive touches on the team. Guys high fiving and slap each other on the butt and just all that stuff, and that does not seem to be existent on this team the last couple of years, and it's something that I didn't really pay attention to until he pointed it out, and it is I think that is for a group when you have all those positive touches, that's showing a different level of a relationship, and I think that does matter.
100%. Steve Nash is my favorite. Him and Pistol Pete. But Steve Nash, they did like a study on him and how many touches he would get during games and stuff like. And his numbers were like astronomical, crazy how much he had. And I took that to heart, and I try and do the same things. And it doesn't. You don't have to be super crazy about it, but I think team huddles, good or bad play, everybody coming together, point guards calling the guys in, or whoever the vocal guy is on the team at that point. Getting in, figuring out, okay, this next play we're getting 2 more stops. We went 3 stops in a row. We got 2 more to get. Or we need to come down and execute a play. Let's get Trace a touch. Let's get it inside. Those are kind of things as you get older and I'm starting to understand, like, that's how you win games. That's how the game's not perfect. You're going to have ups and downs. There's going to be turnovers. There's runs. But you got to come together and try and figure that stuff out. And I think, hopefully we can try and do that today.
How much is not having Joey Brunk hurt them? I know he's not a gigantic part of the offense or defense, but he is a part of it, and he's a vocal veteran leader and a big body who's not out there for Trace Jackson Davis to lean on. I'm sure that having been under him for these couple of years, not having him out there is not as comfortable for Trace as it could be. For sure.
I think Joey brings a different, like you said, he has some experience. He knows what it takes. He's not going to go out and get you 40 points, but he's going to go out and do all the little things. And you need guys like that on the team, guys who know the role, understand what they need to do, and be that vocal guy like Joey. I think I don't know his injury situation. I haven't really looked into that. I don't know what it is, but hopefully he's good, and I think he'd be a huge help. If even I know he's trying to be as vocal as he can off the bench, but it's different when you're out on the court and you can actually make it. He wants to be out there. He wants to help him, and he can be that guy for us. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back on the court. But you need guys like that. I see Trey Galloway being a guy like that. If you just play hard, you always got to play hard no matter what. And I think those kind of guys, you need that. You need that.
Absolutely. Hey, well, we got to take one more break before we finish up. When we come back, I want to ask you about who was some of your favorite trash talkers, whether it was in high school, college, pros, wherever. Just been reading about some. I was reading another Larry Bird story yesterday, and I can never get enough of those stories, of the Larry Bird stories, of what he would do.
He's the best.
Oh my gosh. We'll talk about that when we come back. Jordan Hulls is with us here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this. I was reading a story about him and Sean Kemp yesterday.
I read that today. Yeah, that was awesome.
But it's just like so many others that I've read. Yeah, I got something special for you today.
Yeah, I read or I watched obviously The Last Dance, and just watching Reggie Miller and Michael. Like my dad never let me talk trash. I never really talked. I just kind of, if someone was talking, I've been punched in the face. And I just go and, like, to me, if I go and like cross the dude up and then score, like, that's good enough for me. I don't have to say a word. I think that's even worse. Every once in a while I'll say some stuff that I can't repeat, but yeah, I'd have to be pretty upset.
My favorite thing of the whole Last Dance with Michael Jordan was when Rodman took the deal to Vegas, and they had to go get him. But when they get him back, Phil's all, Mr. Zen, we've got to get him back in shape, get his body back in shape. And they do that chain where last guy has to pass him. Yeah. He's like, it took us 4 laps to catch his ass. He's like, hey, I was like, oh, man.
It's great. Man, that documentary, I watched it when it was coming out in the summer. But then I didn't finish it for whatever reason. And then
you didn't?
No, so then I just finished it like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, holy crap.
You talk about something coming out at a perfect time during COVID, man.
Oh, yeah. That's why they rushed it, I think, right? They rushed it to get out.
It was good, though. It was fun.
Voted the best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald Times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership.
I think Larry Bird may be the king trash talker of all time.
That's what I've heard. I mean, obviously,
all the stories I read, man.
Yeah, I read
funny.
Everything I read, beating people with his left hand, and
he would make bets.
Yeah,
bets with his left. He played one game with his entire left hand.
Right, against like the Hawks or somebody.
Who does that?
I'm Dane Chandler. Thank you, sir.
Utmost confidence, man. That's unbelievable.
I mean, God.
Our easy-to-use mobile app includes
people like. I have younger guys on my team. Of course, I'm biased because I'm from Indiana, but they don't understand how good Larry Bird was. Like, if you look at his stats and put him like next to LeBron's or something, it's like, guys, come on.
For FDIC.
Yeah, and he does not have the athletic ability LeBron has.
But he's got more champions.
The NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy Stafford also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6.
Man, these early games are kind of good because it gets everything out of the way for me.
No, it's great. Yeah. Unfortunately, like I said, I'll be at practice when this game's on. And my coach actually played at Stanford, so I'll have to tell him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's his name?
His name's John Patrick.
That's cool. Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you here on this Wednesday. We made it to Hump Day, Jordan, and Indiana on tap at 1 this afternoon, taking on Stanford. In the break, your coach that you're playing for in Germany, you said played at Stanford.
Yeah, back in 87 to 91. John Patrick. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to put a little.
Maybe
little bug in
maybe
his
you get the
ear.
day off. Go watch the game.
I should have thought about that earlier today when we had our first practice. I didn't even think about it. Dang it.
You guys are doing
Sorry,
2 days?
guys. Oh yeah, that's typical in Europe. You like in the morning, it depends. Like you can have a full practice, or you have like shooting and skill work, and then at night, you usually have your full practice where you start. You do your offense and prepare for the next opponent, that kind of stuff.
As I saw something yesterday, I think you said you saw it too, and I've seen so many, but it was about Larry Bird trash talking, which this is not really about Larry Bird, but actually I think he may be the greatest trash talker in the history of trash talking. From all the stories that you keep reading, they're just so funny. I mean, they are so funny. Slapping
You don't
people
get
on
sick
the
of
butt
them.
when they go by. No,
Yeah.
he slapped people on the butt when they go by with a ball and then crack them with a 3. I mean, just making bets that he played left-handed the whole time in a game. It's just craziness. But who was in high school? Was there much trash talking when you were in high school?
I mean, once I guess most of it was from like the opposing student section or something, especially once I started getting some attention, overrated chance, all that kind of stuff, whatever. I don't really remember. There wasn't too many people who could talk much trash to us anyway. We were beating everybody, so I don't know what more they were gonna say. But I've for sure been punched in the face a couple times in games, that kind of stuff in high school. College, for sure, he's like the trash talker. Him.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't back down from anybody. Elston, he liked to talk trash too, but he
Who's
was
your
more.
opponent? Big Ten Conference. Who was the big trash? Who liked to do it? Who was their big trash talker?
That's a good question. Let me think. Jeez. Well, early on, we could never talk to anybody because we were getting smacked. So what were we going to say back to anybody? Evan Turner. I do remember Evan Turner. Against me or Daniel Moore, like he just looked at us because we were obviously much smaller than him, and he just looked at us crazy. That was pretty disrespectful, but that was the only one that really stuck out to me from opponents. Draymond Green, for sure.
Of course.
He talked a lot. I guess
what kind of within reason? What kind of trash talking are we talking here in college? What were we talking?
I mean, if it's ever about me, it's like, you're too little, you're too blah, 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 whatever. It's to me, I don't care, man. You can say whatever you want to me. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to play hard. And then if you're really talking crazy to me, like, and I'm feeling good, I'm going to just try and cross you up and score on you. And then I'll just stare you down. Like, I'm not going to really say anything. I'm not the most physically imposing person. But there'll be a couple of times where I'll say a few things, but I'd have to get pretty worked up for that. But usually I let my game talk, and I mean I think that makes guys more upset actually than actually saying something else.
Yes, there's nothing worse than the silent assassin. What's now and playing professionally there in Germany is on that level, or is it much of that going on there?
Oh yeah, a lot of that stuff like he's too little. I got a mouse in the house.
So there's
oh yeah, it's all the time. Not even. Oh yeah, for sure, and it's fun. It's cool. It's always been in the game. That's how it is. Again, for me, I'm gonna go out and try and score 10 points in a minute against somebody if I really want to try and talk to somebody. But it's. I'll say a few words if I have to and defend myself, but nobody's really. It's not too malicious, I should say. It's more just competitive nature stuff.
Indiana and Stanford today. What are you expecting to see?
I expect to show some response, show some a little bit more toughness today. Bounce back from yesterday. Getting punched in the mouth. I've said that a million times, like a broken record, but that's what happened. And I think I'm looking forward to it. I really think that we're going to figure some things out. I hope so. Stanford's a good team. That they spread the floor out. look from what I saw yesterday, I don't know if that's normal, but it looks like everybody could shoot. They had a good offense, pass, cut. So hopefully we defend well and get out and run. I think let's play more free. Let's get the ball moving, popping around the arc and getting it inside out, and not being afraid to shoot threes when we're open. Don't hesitate. Just be ready, catch and shoot. I think that'll be a big thing, and hopefully that's what we do today.
And then how are the numbers for you guys over there, COVID? We've seen I don't want to say it's level out, but because we had such a rise, but they're up there high, and we've had a lot of changes going on. Has that been affected to you guys much?
It's not. I mean, the numbers aren't great here. They haven't gotten the numbers haven't gone down, I don't think, but they've kind of stayed the same. They haven't skyrocketed like they had 2 or 3 weeks ago, like back home. So that the restrictions, you can have 2 households with like 5 people where it was. So they dropped that down from 10 to 5 people now or something like that. But like I told you, I don't really leave too much, so I just stay at the house and just watch all my movies and read, and I don't go out too much. But it seems okay here. We're just trying to get by week, passing both of our COVID tests each week that we have to take before our games, and just praying that the other team does the same thing so we can play every scheduled game that we have. Next game Sunday, so we'll get tested Friday, and hopefully we can play.
And then, of course, family you've mentioned back here in Indiana with 3 kids and a newborn right now. You got the new baby on the ground. How's that been going for you?
It's good. Can't say it hasn't been difficult for my wife. She's awesome. We knew going into it was going to be hard, and trying to get my daughter, my baby daughter, her passport now. And once she gets that, then they're going to come over shortly after that. So hopefully that happens quick. Shortly before Christmas would be perfect, or shortly after the new year. That's the plan. But yeah, they're doing great. Boys are healthy. Baby girl's growing. Wife is happy. Stressed sometimes for sure, but she's got some help with my parents, her parents. But just looking forward to the day where the chaos comes to me, and I'll have less sleep for sure, but I'll be happy to see my kids.
And I'm sure they'll be happy to see you, as will everyone else back here. But and that's a long time, because this season goes till what, I think May?
Till May, yeah. And usually I'm here in August. I didn't get here till October. So a typical year in Europe is from August to May. And if you make playoffs, then the latest I've gotten home is June 3rd. When I played in Belgium, I got home June 3rd. So it's a long season, but this year's obviously different with COVID, having to kind of crunch the schedule in and trying to fit it all in by May 1st or May 8th or something like that. So yeah, just want my family to get here and then enjoy the rest of the season, and then see what happens after that.
A lot of basketball games today for the folks to watch. West Virginia, Gonzaga. There's your number 1 matchup with number 11. Illinois will be back at it, taking on Baylor. How about that? That is today is what, tonight. How about, Illinois and Baylor? That is going to be a game to watch. How about the rise of Illinois and how the team that they've got loaded over there, Brad Underwood? Man, those guys are talented. And Iowa, Luka Garza, some of the best players in the country in the Big Ten this year. Yeah,
I've been trying to watch as much more basketball now than I usually do. I have the time to do it without my kids here, but it's awesome. You love to see when Big Ten teams are doing well. Our conference is one of the best conferences in the country for sure. So, you're happy to see that, and then you're going to root against them in the Big Ten once the season starts there. But it's good. It's good. You want to play the best competition. That's what you go to, Indiana's, those kind of schools, and that's what you want to go play against, compete at the highest level. So I'm happy to see the Big Ten representing pretty well right now.
We've seen some cool upsets this year already too. Richmond beats Kentucky. Virginia.
Anytime Kentucky loses.
Well, they lost again last night to Kansas too, so they've started the season 0-2.
Hey, we're happy about that over here. That's perfect.
San Francisco beat
Yeah,
Virginia.
yeah, perfect. Good, yeah. San Francisco. Come on now. That's good.
Well, that's a few days ago. Those are, but yeah, and you look at Kentucky. That's 2 seasons in a row. They've started off with big time upset. Last year they lost to Evansville, and then this year it's Richmond. It's so funny though to see those teams, the halves that have had these advantages, so many advantages. When you take them away, how much they cry that you want us to compete on a level playing field? Well, that's crazy. They're almost dumbfounded that you expect them to compete with these peasants, and that's almost how it feels sometimes. It's like, you want me to compete with these peasants?
Yeah, crazy. Unfortunately, yeah, but they had that last year. They're gonna figure it out as well. It's early on in the year, like what we talked about earlier. Nobody's had exhibition games. Nobody's had this or that. Credit to the teams that had these big upsets and stuff. They were prepared. They executed what they needed to. But these highly ranked teams as well, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna bounce back and be like normal college basketball. But this is a different year for everybody, and you love to see the upsets. Though that's what makes college basketball awesome. And especially even if it's this early too. I got a teammate that played at Gonzaga actually, Elias Harris. He's on my team here, so I'll have to see who does Gonzaga play today?
Who did I just say? I think it was West Virginia. Yeah, West Virginia, ranked number 11, 3-0.
Oh, nice, cool.
So there you go.
There you go.
Well, Ben, I appreciate it as always. Jordan Hull's on here, Dustin Aperic, and a Cal Neddenrip, of course. I hope you guys go out and have a fun day, enjoy the basketball games, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, Jordan.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, appreciate you having me.
And good luck on Sunday as the games continue. We'll keep up with you as well. I hope everybody else goes out and has a great day as well. Please wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.